No one wakes up one morning and says, I'm going to go run 26.2 miles. In fact, I never thought I'd run a marathon. So when I signed up for the Phoenix Mesa Marathon, I must have been delirious, or on a runner's high, as they call it. The truth is, I had been running for several years, races like the 4.2-mile Pat Tillman run, 10K turkey trots, and eventually half marathons. When running a half marathon was no longer challenging, I convinced myself to train and run one full marathon. So that's what I did. I had a goal of running the race in 4 hours or less, which would be a very respectable time. I went on to beat that goal and decided to try to qualify for the Boston Marathon. The next year, 2014, I was 5 minutes from qualifying. I was so close. Now I was determined. I would train even harder. I told everyone I was going to qualify for the next Boston Marathon. My qualifying race would be another Phoenix Mesa Marathon in March of 2015. 1 week before running it, I had a mammogram and genetic testing done to evaluate my breast cancer risk. At that point, my mother had been diagnosed with breast cancer twice and is now a 3-time survivor. She was also BRCA1 positive, a genetic mutation that puts one at high risk for breast and ovarian cancer. I'd been feeling an ache in my right breast for a couple months. It could have been from all the running I had been doing, but I felt I should have myself checked. After the mammogram, the radiologist who read the image came in with a concerned look on her face. She asked me to come back for the biopsy. I didn't like the sound of that, but I told her, I'll be back after I run a marathon next week. At the age of 31, I qualified for the Boston Marathon. 3 hours and 32 minutes with just 3 minutes to spare. It was the fastest marathon I ever ran. The handsome man I was dating was at the finish line with a blanket and a banana in hand. We embraced as I shed tears of joy and pure excitement. It was one of the best days of my life. I returned for the biopsy the next week. At the time, I was a dental hygienist and received the call in between patients. You have an invasive breast cancer, my doctor told me. You need to see a breast specialist right away. Even with a family history, I never expected to hear, you have breast cancer. My heart sank, my stomach dropped, I cried, and I went back to work. I found my home at Banner MD Anderson, and I've never looked back. Because I had triple-negative breast cancer, I needed to start chemotherapy immediately. The doctors told me I would lose my hair and my breasts. Through tears, I asked, but can I still run the Boston Marathon? No one knew the answer to that except for me, and I knew I would run it no matter what. The marathon has a rule that if you qualify, you must run it the next year or you have to qualify again. I started treatment the next week. I completed 16 chemotherapy infusions over 6 months, followed by a double mastectomy, then breast reconstruction. A friend asked me how I felt about everything. I told her it was a great year. I just happened to have cancer. My surgeon cleared me to start training with only 4 short months before the race. On April 16th, 2016, my dream came true. I ran the Boston Marathon as a breast cancer survivor. I was so proud of myself. I did it. I shared my story on social media and began getting messages asking how I was able to beat breast cancer and then run a marathon just months later. All along, I was feeling the need to help others, and my second act began. 5 years after my cancer diagnosis, I started a YouTube channel called Marina Blackford. I produced videos with tips for getting through chemotherapy. They expanded to include other tips for cancer journeys and life in general. It was a new passion that gave me such joy. In 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, I stayed home with my 2-year-old son and had a daughter in September. Then in November, I found a new lump near my breast reconstruction. I started chemotherapy again on December 31st. I continued to share videos of my new cancer journey on my channel. After my first diagnosis, I wanted to see for myself what was possible during cancer treatment, and I hope to do the same for others. Throughout my second diagnosis, I wanted my viewers to see what was possible as an athlete, a mom to 2 young kids, and a working professional. I was fighting with everything I had and not giving up. I recorded a video titled 12 Things I Wish I Knew Before Starting Chemo. It shares clear information for those who are going through treatment. With over 700,000 views, the video went viral. My YouTube channel now has 237 videos with over 1.6 million views, over 22,000 subscribers, with an audience of 80% women and 20% men in 36 countries. In my second act, after having breast cancer twice, I found a community of people that needed me, and as it turns out, I needed them. Now I host monthly live chats on my channel where anyone on a cancer journey can feel supported. And then in 2023, to further help myself and others, I became a certified holistic cancer coach, helping survivors live a full life during and after their cancer treatment. It is now my profession. I ended up marrying that man who waited at the finish line. Back in 2015. With his encouragement, I set out to live my next running goal. I applied to run the New York City Marathon. 1 month later, I received a phone call from the Young Survival Coalition, a nonprofit that helps young adults diagnosed with breast cancer, asking me to run the marathon on their behalf this November. One never knows where this roller coaster of life might take you. 1 minute you're at the top enjoying the view. The next you're going through all of life's twists and turns. In the end, how you experience the ride is your choice. I choose to live a life beyond cancer every day, and I am thankful to help others do the same.